You guys, it's another day ending in Y, which means there's another influencer terrorizing Japan. Let's check it out.
Riding a bullet train without paying, breaking into an active construction site, begging locals for money, stealing food from a Kyoto hotel, or breaking into a truck. What do you want to do when you come to Japan? There seems to be a worrying trend now where foreign influencers are treating Japan like it's a cross between Disneyland and The Purge, a theme park where rules don't matter and you can pretty much get away with anything. In a world where all that matters now is click-through rates on YouTube videos or audience retention on a kick stream, desperate creators are going to death.
How do you get to the point of humanity that you devolve into such a cockroach that you have to go to another location, another culture, and provide thumbtack in your anus type behavior to an entire society because you're so desperate for a click? How did we get here as humanity? This is insane. Like, I am so tired of this influencer culture and, people basically doing whatever it takes to get views. These people are absolute menaces on society and need to be punished because their desperation for attention. Look, I'm desperate for attention, okay? I make YouTube videos, okay? I come on the mic, I yell at it for minutes at a time, and then I post it to the world. But I could never imagine going to the lengths these people go to for attention. I could never imagine committing actual crimes to get a click. Not only one, because it's illegal, but two, it's just goblin behavior. Like, did these people not have childhoods? Were they not raised properly? It's insane to me.
Desperate lengths to get the attention they sorely crave. And unfortunately, it seems what better place to exploit people's kind-hearted nature and goodwill for content than here in Japan. Nuisance foreign influencers have been in the public news quite a bit in Japan over the last few months. And with the release of a video just yesterday by YouTuber Fidias getting thrown off.
And I think that's what it is, right? That's why they target Japan. Because I've never been to Japan, but I've heard very nice things about the people there and the culture there. They're very reserved, they'll kind of like mind their own business, and as long as you're not physically harming people or genuinely, you have to be a genuine psychopath for them to like kind of stop you, right? It's not like America where it's like you walk into a school and get shot. It's not like that. It's just a different type of people, a different type of class, and people of other cultures abuse that because they're more lenient in the sense that they'll ignore you more, right? And they want to see how far they can push these people until they crack. And this is the thing, you don't want to do that to people, like just in general, but you especially don't want to do it to like the quiet ones, because once those people snap, there's no going back. You're gonna get every single bit of rage that's owed to you. All right. Could you imagine somebody doing this, for example, in Afghanistan or the Middle East somewhere? They would leave with their hands chopped off if they left with their life at all. It's insane. The goodwill that's offered by this country is being abused to the absolute limit. And people like this are going to ruin it for people that actually want to end up visiting there one day, because it just gives Americans or Westerners in general a bad name, right?
For Shinkansen for not paying, amongst other things. The topic looks set to make a very unwelcome comeback this week. So in this video we'll take a look at who these dickheads are and what's been going on, as well as exploring how this has been playing out in Japan amongst both the public and the Japanese government, because it certainly hasn't gone unnoticed. And look, this isn't just a foreigner YouTube problem. Japan has its own fair share of domestic nuisance YouTubers, and it's taken some pretty bizarre measures.
There's crappy people everywhere. That's 100% fair. Here's the thing: something about people and these other goblins, right? Is they see that this behavior works. It's acknowledged by 14-year-old subspecies. And they copy that behavior to get the clicks as well, because they have that same attention problem.
Counter them as well, as we'll see. But both as a foreigner living in Japan and as a YouTuber, naturally, I feel like this is something I need to talk about. Do I want to talk about it? No, I don't. As you know, I like talking about happy things. In fact, to produce this video, I had to completely scrap the fun pre-planned content that I had in store. But my policy on YouTubers and streamers doing shitty things has always been to ignore them. for fear of bringing them any more attention or notoriety. And I only do so today because in the case of the first bellend that we'll talk about, Johnny Somali, a kick streamer, he's already reached a high level of notoriety after his recent arrest. And his story is important as it gives context to why people are so fed up that this has...
Oh yeah, and we did a whole video on Johnny Somali, like just a dedicated one to him. This guy is insane. Johnny Somali is the mutant of all mutants. This guy is breaking laws left and right. Believe he is now being actually convicted by the Japanese government. 99.9% conviction rate. The 0.9 really does matter, believe it or not. That's I believe it's 100 times more likely than 99%, right? Not a math wizard, but it is important. So he's being sent to jail or having some crime attached to him, which is well deserved. This guy commit a litany of crimes across Japan, just being an absolute degenerate. It was beyond insane what Johnny Somali did, and I think he's going to be the poster child of why this behavior is not acceptable, and I hope Japan makes a full example of him with the full extent of their law.
Happen again. And by talking about the second person, who is a YouTuber, hopefully YouTube will take more aggressive action against creators that make shitty content like this. Also, if you're having a good day where you've got some sort of faith in humanity, you might want to stop watching.
I mean, we saw the Sniper Wolf situation, right? I mean, come on. You think if it gets clicks, if it brings YouTube money, they're not going to do anything. I mean, they are a business at the end of the day. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right to basically do this type of behavior to get clicks. I'm not saying, people should weaponize their audience, but YouTube seems to be okay with it as long as they're getting paid for it. So
right now, as I've discovered, learning about these fucking idiots really doesn't do you any favours. Back in September, kick streamer Johnny Somali was arrested after repeatedly causing mayhem around the country, whether it was standing on a train with a loudspeaker harassing train passengers,
What is this, bro?
wandering onto a construction site and being thrown off by mortified workers, or of course breaking into a truck for lunch. For 6 months, frustratingly, he pretty much got away with it all. Had Johnny Somali been in the UK, he would...
One of the other things that he did, if anybody remembers, he was on that train, he just kept saying like Hiroshima and Nagasaki to just some random guy on the train itself. That was so bizarre to me. That is like the most racist thing you could possibly say inside their country. And I know, you know why he did it. It's because it's extreme and it's going to get clicks. But he does it in Japan because he knew that whatever punishment he got at that time for that specific act wasn't going to be anything near what he would get in other places. That'd be like if you came to America and went to the Bronx and you said the N-word just out loud. You would die literally immediately for this insane behavior. It's not okay.
Would have discovered the definition of human punch bag very fucking fast, but unfortunately in Japan, people go about their lives keen to avoid conflict or disputes, especially given how rare it all is, and when people see outlandish, disrespectful behaviour, they're far less likely to confront it than they would in North America or Europe. And with the authorities seemingly inactive or oblivious to this toxic behaviour for the longest time, it got to the point where vigilante stream snipers were actively seeking him out, leading him to get knocked out by a foreign tourist in what might be his second greatest stream. And during this time I purposely avoided the topic because I just didn't want to bring attention to someone like this, There's no such thing, they say, as bad publicity. Fortunately, turns out there is. Eventually, Japanese media caught on to Johnny Somali.
And I think that's really why I made the video as well, and that's why I bring light to these subjects. I literally let these things marinate until somebody gets punished, right? I don't want to do it while they're all on the up and up. Obviously, there's videos of him doing all this crazy stuff for months. People knew about it. But I don't want to bring these people any more attention than what I think they're worth, right? And I want to do that to any creator. In this case, these people are less than zero. They are a negative amount on society. So if I could take attention away, I could. But at best, the only thing I can do is not give them any more. Because giving them that click, that's what they want. They want people to go in and be like, you're a disgusting human in the comments, because they don't care. That's how messed up their brain is, that criticism and just outright, people firing at them, negative comments, this fuels their need for attention still. Whether it's positive or negative, this is what they want. But that's the thing, chat. Look, listen, he wins no matter what because he's still getting the click. He wins whether it's positive or negative feedback because he doesn't care. He's lost all sense of reality, and all that fuels him is the need for attention. So once he gets that click, he wins the battle. In this case, it's very positive because Johnny Somali is actually being punished. This is why we can talk about it now. This is what makes it good to talk about now, because now Japan's taking action on him, and he's literally screwed. He's done, right? He's done. They're going to make an example out of him, and it'll be over for him. Now, will that prevent other people from doing it? Probably not. Maybe they will. Now they know the limit. Now they know the bar that they can go to before being arrested. But I'm still happy that he's being punished.
And in what was undeniably his greatest stream, he captured his own demise in real time as the police arrested him and tossed him into a cell where he's been for almost 2 months now. If formally charged with trespassing, he could spend up to 3 years in jail, but that's pretty unlikely, and we can only hope he does get to stream his inevitable deportation sometime in the near future. But the damage had already been done, with one of Japan's most powerful politicians speaking out publicly about nuisance streamers, casting a bit of a shadow over regular streamers and YouTubers operating in Japan. And that takes us to now. This week in the relay race of dickhead influencers in Japan, the baton of twattery went from Johnny Somali to Cypriot YouTuber Fidias when he released a video called I Travelled Across Japan for Free. A more accurate title would have been I Travelled Across Japan.
Now, if we're going to make it a scale of 0 to Johnny, this guy is probably, I would say, at like a 6 of scumbag. Johnny Somali being the worst. This guy, if anybody knows this Fidias guy, Fidias, he's a YouTuber, posts a lot of these kind of cringe videos. Essentially, he actually did a video where he flexed on African people and basically said, look at me flexing on the poor, and then he changed the title. He tried to flex his iPhone, and people were not impressed at all. So this is the type of behavior you can expect from him. Just like kind of cringe, not mega insane, but just like I said, thumbtack in your butt behavior. Just a nuisance. What Johnny Somali did, he straight up broke multiple laws. And the latest thing for Fidias, he did actually break a law in Japan, traveled across it for free, which is a stupid idea, by the way. Anyways, I don't even see how people are interested in that. Like, oh, look, I'm basically sitting in a toilet for 10 hours at a time. Ha, this is crazy, guys. Yeah, look at me. It's just a dumb premise to begin with. But that's kind of the law he broke. Basically stealing travel, which is illegal anywhere. Japan takes it more seriously, obviously, because that's one of the main ways they fund a lot of the things there, and it's also a main source of transportation. And also, dude, somebody probably had to poop, okay? And he's taking up the dumper for like 2 hours, okay, at a time. What's wrong with this guy?
And without fucking paying, as Fidias rode across the country on a Shinkansen without buying a ticket and then camping out in a public toilet while battling an unamused train conductor who later threw him off the train, as well as harassing locals for money along the way to pay for his bus fare. Although clearly it wasn't enough because he didn't pay the bus fare, and so the bus company took him to the police station to charge him. And if that wasn't enough as an extra bonus, he also walked into a Kyoto hotel, pretended he was staying to
Little fun fact on that, the only thing he regrets about that is that he couldn't film the full arrest and detainment. That's the people we're dealing with here.
Staff and stole food from the breakfast buffet. What a man of class. A waste of time for everyone involved, all in the name of the world's shittest YouTube video. I don't know about you, but I don't actually want Fidias to get arrested for this. I want him to be free so he can get to work on his sequel as soon as possible. I travelled Pyongyang for free. Boy, would I pay good money to see that in action. Now, right off the bat, Fidias doesn't have
point. That's
the
what
best
I'm saying with Afghanistan. They abuse the goodwill of people when there's much more violent countries out there. I'm pretty sure if he did this in Russia, he would end up being like a slave the next day. Like, I don't even know. He'd be taken in to a work camp somewhere. It's just unreal to me that you can be this cockroach-like to an entire people.
dictation. In fact, if desperation had a physical manifestation, it would be him. After all, the guy once camped outside of Twitter's headquarters for 60 days just to get a hug with Elon Musk himself. In a scene so hideously awkward, you'll want to go back in time and kill the internet from ever happening. Perhaps this shouldn't be a complete surprise, given this is the same guy
yes,
who faced...
this is the one I was talking about. This is where he said he flexed on the poor, and he changed the title to this after a lot of backlash. It's the most cringe video you've ever seen.
A backlash last year for his questionable thumbnail choices. But in a matter of hours, the video had been picked up by netizens online and shared across Japan. In response to the outrage, Fidias did what any good YouTuber would do. He wrote a shit apology. Hello, beautiful people. I apologise to the Japanese people if we made them feel...
He pinned the comment on the video in the comments section, and it got 5 likes. This is the most insane apology. It's not on Twitter. It's not in front of barely any public audience. This is to his audience, right? This is not to everybody else that probably watched this. I don't even get an apology video. The apologies this year have been so half-assed. I'm not even, like, I'm still flaccid over here. I'm very unpleased with the amount of apologies and how they're being done this year. Sniper Wolves was awful. This is terrible. People need to step up their apology game.
Bad, that was not our goal. From now on, I am going to make more research to the cultures we go to and try to prevent this from happening again.
That's the problem. He did do the research on the culture. He knew he was not going to be punished in an extreme manner, so he picked Japan to do it in. That's the problem, is he knew what he was doing. That's the problem with all these people. They know what they're doing, right? It's not a doe-eyed person that is unaware. They know if they go to Japan and do these things, they're not going to be as severely punished, especially as a traveler.
Again, I love you all. 5 likes from 5 fucking idiots. I'm gonna make more research to the cultures. You know what? Maybe I'll swing by Malaysia. Maybe I'll steal a truck, because maybe that's okay there. Maybe theft is okay. I don't know. I haven't researched the culture. Or maybe I'll swing by Vietnam and hijack a bus. I don't know. I haven't researched the culture. Maybe the concept of crime is absent in Asian countries. But clearly Fidias didn't research the culture of India, because he did the exact same fucking thing there, riding a train without paying. But what lies in store for Fidias? Well, if history tells us anything...
Yeah, I mean, that brings another point altogether. You're planning to do a crime regardless of where it's at. And here's a crazy thought. I mean, reflect on your actions. Maybe say, hey, I'm making this video, and I'm going to try not to do anything illegal in it to achieve my end goal. That's a crazy thought, I know.
It's that he should soon begin his narrative arc to becoming an amateur boxer. And who knows what kind of exciting content that we can expect next. Perhaps I piggybacked across Japan on 100 unwilling strangers. Or perhaps I tried robbing a Japanese 7-Eleven in a day. But there's a tipping point in Japan when something is...
Well, and that's the problem with behavior like this, right? And this is the problem with creators like this, is everything gets escalated. There always has to be one better than the last. So Johnny Somali does something crazy. For people to get similar amount of notoriety as him, somebody's going to have to do something even crazier. At what point does somebody draw the line? You know, we're going to get to the point where people are going to start getting severely hurt. Like, I could see headlines like, you're going to see influencer A goes on rampage, 7 hospitalized, influencer ends up shot dead. These are the type of headlines you're going to see in the future if something isn't done about this, because it has to be crazier than the last. The people that watch this, the audience of these videos, are crazy individuals. Most of them 14 and psycho, right? They're not fully developed, so they laugh at this stuff. So to garner a new audience, when these up-and-comer pranksters, come into the picture, to be the next best thing, they have to do the next best thing, the next craziest thing, to garner that audience. So you don't want to bore a 14-year-old, right? You don't want to do the same thing Johnny Somali did. No. Okay, instead of going, into the construction site, maybe I'm going to pick up the nail gun and start shooting it. Maybe I'll do that. That's the type of stuff that people have to do to get these more clicks, and it's scary to think about if, things aren't actually done about this.
Is featured on TV. That's when the outrage is sort of crystallised. And it's impressive how well everyone's forgotten Logan Paul's saga when he came to Japan for the ultimate dickhead speedrun, causing chaos on the streets, smashing Game Boys and mocking the dead. with the whole episode making national news in Japan, to the point that I ended up on Japan's biggest morning news show in the bizarre position of having to defend all foreign YouTubers ever in the world, which was basically me just sitting on a chair,
And
looking
that's the
bewildered,
thing.
going,
It doesn't seem fair, but that's the way it is, right? If I ever go to Japan, and if I ever pull out a camera, I guarantee you every single Japanese person there's going to be like, oh my god, here we go, dude. Like, and all I'm trying to do is take a picture, Like, that's the type of stuff. You get instantly judged based on the behavior of your peers. They see a Western person come in, pull out a camera, all of a sudden they're like, please don't do this. It's sad. It's unfair to the rest of the world.
very angry. I'm very angry indeed. It's a good thing I didn't say, but don't worry, it won't happen again. Especially with a clip of even more streamers in Japan doing the rounds dressed as Mario, harassing women in the street.
What the fuck, Mario?
Now there is some good news. Just as I was finishing up this video, I did see that the offending video had disappeared, meaning either YouTube took action or he took it down himself. But the damage has already been done. It's already been shared across social media.
Just so you know, YouTube did actually take that video down. They removed it, which is great. So maybe they took some pointers on the Sniper Wolf situation. It is interesting how fast they reacted for him versus Sniper Wolf, but that's a different conversation altogether.
Here in Japan, people are already kind of pissed off. Japanese rail companies are investigating what happened. And just today, a friend shared with me a photo of his local bar that's just put up a sign banning people from filming, streaming, doing anything inside there. And who can really blame them? Probably a look of things to come.
These things are going to start going up all over Japan like COVID signs. You're going to be like, please, no. You put your cell phone in the bucket at the front, okay? You're not. Otherwise, you're not allowed in.
Looking at the bigger picture, it's unfortunate. In 10 years living here, 300 videos on the road, I've very rarely faced any difficulties filming in public. The key is to be respectful, don't be noisy, be mindful of the people around you. And much of my success is down to the fact Japan is so tolerant and so generous when it comes to people filming out and about in public. There's nowhere better to do it. And I worry if this keeps happening, then the day will arrive where every time I pull out a camera to film, or a foreign tourist is filming something, just making a video, folks will rush over to sort of say, oh, stop filming, don't film here please, damn it, don't film, because they're so concerned that something bad is going to happen. And it's a sad turn of events to be confronting, especially as it's the 1-year anniversary of Japan.
It creates a Western stereotype that people are going to have to deal with, and it's unfortunate. It's an embarrassment to the Western culture in general. I just want to say, not all of us are like this. In fact, the majority of us aren't. This is completely animalistic behavior, and I apologize on behalf of him and all of his spawn, and all the people that do this behavior in your country.
And reopening, tourist numbers are almost back to where they were since 2019. It'd be a terrible shame if that is overshadowed by foreign influencers running amok, being disrespectful, and taking advantage of Japan and its people. And I think the only flip side I can find is by raising awareness of that. I kind of want to encourage you guys, if you're ever out there watching something on YouTube or Twitch or Kick, where douchebag influencers are traveling around Japan doing these sort of things, hold them to account, report them, do what you can. That's the only way they can be stopped when they're deprived of the platforms that they use to output the shitty, awful content. Now, as I said, Japan isn't without its own domestic YouTuber problems. In fact, the country has a word for nuisance YouTubers, mewakuke. During the pandemic, a YouTuber called Hezumaru was detained for 2 days after a string of questionable activities, including stealing sashimi from a supermarket and laying down a mattress in the middle of Shibuya Crossing. That was never going to end well, let's face it. Then this year, somewhat bizarrely, in the run-up to hosting the G7 summit, the Japan Self-Defense Force ran a series of exercises in anticipation of an attack. In this case, in the event that a YouTuber should try to break into a base belonging to the Japan Self-Defense Force, which they reacted to by swarming the individual and searching their car. And let's face it, it's the one Logan Paul video that we all want to see. That would be one.
I mean, there's a lot of negative actors everywhere, right? And that's totally fair game. This is not something that is a cultural thing. This mental health issue that these people have is not based around one specific culture. I mean, Johnny Somali from America, right? You have Fidias from somewhere in Europe, these fellas that are actually local to Japan. This is a mental health issue. These people have problems. That's what it is, honestly.
hell of an episode. As for Fidias, let's hope his next video is out soon. Staying in Japan for free, with free meals. Fingers fucking crossed.
There it is. Yeah, I mean, this behavior is not supported by anybody. I think that's a fair assumption to make. The only people that support this are the, 1 million 14-year-olds that have gotten their third pube for the year, okay? That's the only people that support this.